I'm going to read a new novel, uh, Brave New World, written by Aldous. There are 18 chapters. Each chapter has about 10 pages, so I'll read this one chapter, and maybe I need to read it very fast. Here you go. 1. A script grades building at only 34 stories of the main runs towards central London as various and condition centers, and assure the world state and morals, community identity, stability. The enormous ruins of the ground floors westward most cold for all the summer beyond the pines. All the tropical heat of luminous that are harsh, thin, white as the glare through the windows, the hungrily seeking sun draped a light figure sun, following the shadow of academic Scottish flesh. Not finding only glass and nickel bleakly shining serene of the love grey, with fitness responded to windfulness at the overworld of the world. Why? The hands so gloved with his face crops the color lover. The light was frozen that goes. Only from the yellow barrels of microscopes did it spore a certain origin living substance of light. Around the polished tubes like the virtuous freight after the shoes creaked along the sessions down the work table. On this, after opening the door, the fertilizing room. Then all of their instruments, 300 fertilizers would plunge at the director of the hatcheries. Encountering entered the room and the scarcely breathing silence. The absent-minded Solomon also observed a consideration. At 4 the newly arrived students, very young being and Carol and the followers never reached letters ejectly at the director's shoes. Each of them carried a notebook in each. Whenever the great man spoke, he desperately scribbled straight from the horse's mouth. It was a rare privilege the DHA for Central London Railways to make its point of independent conducting a new students round in various departments. I'll give you a general idea. He will explain to them for the schools some sort of general idea they must have if they were to do their work in intelligent research through a little of one. If they were to be good and happy members of society, at post office for particular, as everyone knows, to make for truth and happiness and generality characteristics necessary stable, not philosophers but better warriors. As some characters compare the backbones of society. Tomorrow, he would add, smiling at them with a slightly menacing ingenuity. You will be settling down to serious work, and you won't have time for the work meanwhile. No, it was a privilege. Straight from the horse's mouth into the notebook, the voice scribbled like mad. There were other things, but all matters directors of Vincent into London. He had a long chin, and a big letters the permanent teeth and just the covers when he was not talking fast. Who's the floor is curved lips. Oh, young, 30, 50, 55. Really hard to say, and on occasion didn't arise in this year of stability. If it's 632, it didn't know how to use to ask it. I'll begin at the beginning, start at TH3, and the more purest friends to record its intention in their notebooks. Begin at the beginnings indeed, above his hand and into the incubators. And opening an insulated door, he showed them racks upon racks of the numbered test tube. The week's supplies, however, kept he explained and at blood heat, and whereas the marriage damaged. And here is the open other door, there have to be kept at 35 instead of 37. But where the heat storagers runs a lot and in their simulation battered new lamps. So leaning against the incubators they give them, while the pencils clearly eligibly across the page a brief description of the modern fertilizer process spoke first, of course, of its surgical introduction, the operation undergoes voluntarily for the good of society, not to mention the fact that it carries the bonus amount of 6-month therapy to include some account of the technique for preserving the exercise overly alive, actively developing, passed on to the consideration of the optimum temperature, salinity with consciously effort to the liquor in which detached and ripened eggs were kept, and reading is charged to work tables accuracy showed then how this drink was drawn up from the test tube, how it was let out drop by drop onto the specialist warmed slide of the microscope to how the eggs in which it contains the were inspected pure abnormality counted and transferred towards the pores to the septal. However, now took them to the watch the operation. It was immersed in a warm bouillon containing presumed sperm motors at a minimum concentration of 100,000 per cubic centimeters. He insisted then how, after 10 minutes, the canyon was lifted out of the liquor and is continuously examined. How, if any of the eggs remained unfertilized, it was again immersed, and if necessary, stayed again. How the fertilizer went back to the incubators where the alphas, betas remained until definitely bottles, while the gammas, the first, and epsilons were brought out. Again, after only 36 hours to undergo the Volkanovsky's process. Volkanovsky's process, laboratory director, and students underlined the words in their little notebooks: one egg, one embryo, and other abnormalities, but a Volkanovsky egg will bird will proliferate, will divide from 8 to 96 birds, and every bird will grow into a perfectly formed embryos, and then every embryo into full-size adult, making 96 human beings grow where only one grows before progress. Essentially, the DHC concluded Volkanovsky consists of a series of list of developments. We check the normal growth, and paradoxically enough, the egg responded by budding. The pencils were busy. He pointed on the very slowest moving band, a light full of test tubes was entering the large metal box, and a light full was emerging. Measurements faintly spurred. It took 8 minutes for the tubes to go through. He told them, and 8 minutes of hard X-rays. The being about as much as an egg can stand. A few died of the least, divided into flowers for birds, and some ate or were returned to the incubators where the birds began to develop, and then after 2 days, where the sudden chilled and tracking tubes also ate the body in their tons and berries than having. But it were those almost the death would is cause consequently present again and having, but it were out of the bird worse than thereafter further arrested being generalist the patrial aptitude developed in peace, and by which time the original X was in a fair way to becoming anything from 8 to 96 embryos. Prodigious improvement, you will agree on nature's identical twins, but not into twiddling children trees in the old viviparous days when an egg would sometimes accidentally divided, actually by dozens by scores at a time. Scores directed the feet and flung out his arms, and we were distributing largest scores. But one of the students was fool enough to ask it where the adventure lay. "My boy!" The director's heel sharply slammed on him. You can see, laid the hand in his presence of his own, and the background of the sick. His process is one of the major instruments of social stability. Standard men, women, in uniforms and matches. The whole of some factories start to rest the products of singles. Volkanovsky 96 identical twins and working 96 identical machine. The voice was almost tremulous with the instruction. You know where you are. For the first time in history, he quoted the planetary motor, community identity, stability, grand words, and if we could, Volkanovsky's indefinite hold problems would be solved by standard gammas, and wearing their test uniform epsilon. Many of the identical twins and the principle of mass production last afford to biology, but alas, the directors should decide we can't Volkanovsky indefinitely. 96 seemed to be limited. 7 draw a good average from the same ovary and it with its gametes, and same the marriage and manufacturers that many the batches identical twins. The possible that was the best, the second best that they could do, and even that was difficult. For in natural state, it takes 30 years for 200 eggs to reach maturity. But our vision is to stabilize the population at this moment, here and now. Even if our twins in over a quarter of centuries, the world would be the use of that. Obviously, no use at all, but pulse snap techniques had immediately accelerated for several lightning. They could make sure that reached 150 mature eggs within 2 years, but varieties Boganovsky's, in other words, multiplied by 72, and you get an average of nearly 11,000 brothers and sisters in 150 batches, adding to its out within 2 years of the same age. And in a first case, we can make one's over years arson of $15,000 individuals back on towards the fair head, the young man who happened to be passing at the moment. Suppose they called the lady and the young man approached. Can you tell us the record for a single raised Mr. Foster? 16,012 in this center raised Mr. Foster replied without hesitation. He spoke very quickly, had 5 shades of blue eye, and took an evident pleasure in quoting figures 16,012. No wonder the 89 in batches were identical, but of course they don't much better. He later on in some of the tropical centers in Singapore has often produced about 16,500. Mombasa has actually touched the 17,000 mark. Then they have unpaired advantages. You should see the way New Global responds to the picture, and its quote has finished when you are used to be against the European materials field. Yeah, they were Latin, but the light of the combat was in the eyes, and the lifters of his teams was challenging. Still, we need to beat them if we can. So I'm working on a wonderful data minus 2 ovaries at the moment. On just 18-month-old, over 12,700 children already. Either the kind and imperial. Streets going strong. Will beat them yet? That's great. I like it. Credit directors and the craftsmen forced on server and come on with us and give this voice the benefit you expect. Knowledge. Mr. Foster smiled motorist with pleasure. They went. The whole team was harmonious. The Brussels and the oral activity popped up the fresh. There was a parito named that caused the proper size. It came some shooting up and the little slips from the oven store in the south the basement to freeze, and then click the lifted hatchet to chew off the bottle in, and I had only to reach out the hand to take the flap, ensure that smooth down, people to line the bottle. Had a time to travel out of reach along the entrance band, the wheels clicked, and another flap of the paratonium had shut out. The from the office allowed to be slipped into yet another bottle. The next step slows the terminal process on the band. Next line is the truth metric curators processing advanced one by one the eggs and then was transported from the test tube to larger containers. Step 3, the petrolinear line was stripped, the motor dropped into place, saline solutions pouring. The bottle had a pass, and it was the turn of the laborers and heralded the date of the fertilization membership of the Brokhanovsky group. It was transferred from test tube to water. No longer any much the button name to identify and the process much slowly on through and happening in the war slowly until it shows the destination. AA cubic meters of the card index. Certain Mr. First there was the list added into the contains all the relevant information and directors brought up to date every morning and ordinated every afternoon. On the basis of which they make their calculation, so many individuals such card for them is possible. Distributing in such and such a quantity, the optimum they can calculate it at any given moment. Unforeseen changes promptly made good, promptly Mr. Porter. If you knew the amount of time I had to put in after lost the princess cake, a lot good humor and shook his head. Predestinators and in their purest fertilizers. Who give them the embryos they ask for, and the bottles come in here to be predestined in the time. After which they were sent to the imperial stores, where we now proceed on service and opening a door. Mr. Foster led the way down the staircase into the basement. The temperature was still tropical. They descended into the thickening twilight. Two doors and a passage with a stove turn ensured and served against any possibility of pollution of the day. And it was like the photograph film, said Mr. Foster vigorously. At least to push open the second door, they can only stand the red lights. And in fact, such risk that I can see into which sheets of students now follow him was visible and crimson, like the darkness of closed eyes on summer afternoon. Virgin cloaks of lowers on sitting a lower tire over the tire at the bottom of the screen tickets with the innumerable rubies, and along the rubies the blue dim red spectacles of the men and women with folk lights, and all the symptoms of the loafers, the hunt, and lots of machinery painted through the air. He didn't speed as Mr. Foster, the directors, who were tired of the tackling. Mr. Foster was only too happy to give them a few figures, 220 meters long and 200 wide and 10 high, and he pointed upward like chickens blinking. The students lifted their eyes towards distant ceiling. The tiles of blackings in the ground floor loved the first gallery and second gallery spiderly. The work of the galleries faded away in all directions into the dark, and near them three the light ghosts was visiting unloading and then shone and followed the moving staircase. The escalators from the social destination. Each bottle could be placed as on one of 15 lakhs, and each latent door and the student seat was a conveyor traveling at a rate of 33 and a third centimeters per hour, 267, they said, no, 8 meters a day. The 136 meters in all 1 sector, and the cellular at the ground level on of the first galleries, the half of the second, and on the cruise 170 mornings in daylight in the counting rooms indicated the essence of cold. And for Mr. Foster concluded, we wanted to do a lot to them. A very great deal, he laughed with knowing and it's triumphant. Mr. Spear liked it, the breakfast one more, so let's work on this. You tell them everything, Mr. Foster. Mr. Foster duly told them of the goings embryos on his bed of the pet room, Madam's totally blurred subject on the issues of fat, explained why I had been stimulated with its plasma and explosion. Told them of the curves that return extract show them the jets through the average 12 meters from 0 to 2040. It would automatically inject his spoke of those gradually increasing those which carefully administered during the final 96 meters of their course, described as artificials and materials and circulations in shorts in every bottle of the materials that 112 showed, and the zero of the blood is located. The certificate pumped captain to liquids moving over the press tank, and the drove is through the synthetic lung and waste of products filtered further to the embryos and troublesome tendency to anemia, and to massive doses and holes and strong to extract the pores and rivers with which is in consequence it hard to be supplied. Show them the simplest mechanism by means of which is during the last 2 meters out of every 8. All the embryos was simultaneously shaken into its formula with the movement. Hinting at the gravity of so-called trauma of decanting, enumerated the precaution taken to minimize it by suitable training of the bottles embryo, and the nasal strap told them to the text and the process carried out in the neighborhood of Meteorist 200 explained the system of the labyrinth of T for the males, a second for the families, and this for those who were distant becomes a fluent, a question marked blank black on a white ground. For, of course, Satisfying for her, in the vast majority of cases, the facility is merely an instance. One fertilized averaged in 1200 that would really be quite sufficient for our purpose, but we want to have a good choice, and of course, one must always have an enormous margin of safety. Will allow that many other sorts the percent of the female embryos to develop normally. The others get a dose of the male sex hormones every 24 meters for the rest of the course. Later, the getting at the supplementary structure is quite normal, except that you have to admit they do have the slightest tendency to grow beards, steroids, guaranteed steroids, which brings us at last continued Mr. Foster. out of the realm of the mere surface imitations naturally into a much more interesting world of human invention. A lot of these ends, for of course, they didn't get themselves with mirrors, they hatching out embryos and cows couldn't do that. We all predestined and conditioned to which they can our babies are socialized human beings, upper or epsilon, the future 3G workers of future, who was one stays in future world and controller. By correcting himself, said the future director of the hatchery, instead they acknowledged and complimented with a smile. They were passing materials 320 and likewise 11 young betters to minus mechanics was being with a screwdriver, spanner on the board, and so okay, that's the point of the pressing. Also the of the electric motors deepened by the fractions of the turns and they turned left downward to reach the glance. Elevation counters. He was down. He moved to trace down the lines and began to attempt to proceed on next pump, reducing the number of elevations per minute. Let's suppose expand. The solar gate goes down the slowest, therefore to pass through long or longer intervals, and therefore leaves the embryos the last option. Nothing like option sharply out for keeping an embryo to the lowest far. Again, he leveled his hands, but why do you want to keep the embryo to below far? Asked the engineer's student. Yes. The director, breaking a long silence, having an offer to you at an affluent embryos must have an affluent environment that was affluent heredity. Haven't you had the offer to you? He was covered with confusion. Although the case, and the listening is forced shorter the oxygen, the first organ affected was the brain. After the skeletons, at 70% of normal oxygen got dwarfs, less dense and 70 hardest monsters, who are no use at all, concluded Mr. Foster. Whereas his boys games competition and leaders, if they could discover techniques of shortening the period of the maturation, what a time to what to be net fiction of society, consider whole. They considered it to mature at 6 and 11 at 10, while at 13 a man is not yet sexually mature, only full grown at 20, hence of course that full of delayed development of the human intelligence. But in epilepsy, the scientist Mr. Forced very justly, we don't need its human intelligence. And nearest didn't get it. But thought that epilepsy mind was so much worse at 10, and after what was at not sufficient to work till 18. Long years of the shift flux, the voice, and choice if the physical development could be speed up to as quickly as the cows to the animals saving the community animals the memory the strength of the and the situation was infection. It became one of the technical spoke of the animals endocrine coordination, which made the man's goal so towards the postulated journalist maturation to account for it could impact this German maturation beyond could the individuals that absolutely embroidered matter referred by a sort of technique to the normality of dogs and cows, and that was the problem. And it was all about solved. The 15 tons at Mombasa had produced individuals who were sexually mature that for full grown and success to have and scientific strive to battle sociality and use rest. The 60-year-old men and women were distributed to do an affluent work, and the process was all of the nothing else. Either you fail to modify at all, or as you modify the wholesale. I was serious in trying to find an ideal compromise between others of 20 or 6 and so forth without success. Mr. Force sighed and shook his head. They are wandering through the crimson twilight had brought them to the neighborhood which was the 1/7 like 9. From this point onwards, like 9 was enclosed and both upon the remainder of the journey in a kind of tunnel interrupted here and there right of Mr. 3 meters wide. Heat conditioning said Mr. Foster. Tunnel sounds related with Coom Tunnel, Crystal waiting to discomfort in this form of high X-rays at that time. They were the connected embryos and had a horrible cold. There was a predestined and immigrated of traffic and to be minors and six finers and street workers later on their minds. But they made to enjoy the judgment of their body. We continue to drive out heat. Completing Mr. Forster. Hours the corkis after the way teach them to love it. And then the director sententiously that is the secret of happiness to virtual writing. What do you got to do? All continuing the tests and making people like there's an unescapable social attachment. And a gap between two toners on earth with a delicate problem with a long pine springs into the gelatinous content of the passing both of the screens, and there's God through watching the tour at a few moments in silence. Well, awareness and seldom supposed when I last see the little lost a syringe and straightened herself up. The girl turned with a start. One could see that for all the loafers and the focal eyes, she was uncommonly pretty. Anna smiled, flashed lovely at him, and roared her teeth. Chime, murmured the director, and then giving her 2 or 3 richer the chimney sent a lattice and a differential smile towards himself. What are you giving them? Asked Mr. Forster, making his tone very professional. On the usual typhoid and sleeping sickness, the tropical workers started being seen occultated. Mattress 115, Mr. Forster is planning to the screen other embarrassed spirits having used. We immunized the fish against the future cement disease, then turning back to Linnea, and to 5 on the roof, and this afternoon Saturday, as usual, charming Saturdays, directors once more, new finers, but the others, unlike the 10 row of the next generation chemical workers were being trained in the duration of the weather and caustic solar start, current first of the special 250 embryos lucky to find, and units were just passing the 1100 meters mark of Lex 3. A special mechanism kept their containers in constant rotation to improve their sense of the balance, and first supplying and doing repairs on the outside at the Lockheed. Immediately, strictly she drops with slackens of the circulation when they are right way up, so that they are half starved, and of the floor of the cellar gates when they are upside down. They run to associate the topsy turbulence with the worldly being in part they are only truly happy they are standing on their heads. And now, Mr. First went on, I'd like to show you some very interesting concerning for present territory with big batches of them like in 5 first gathered of those cold troopers who had us first to go down to the ground floor. Around about meter 900 explained that you can't really do unusual interest content to the projects have lost their steps following. The director had to get his watch and free his up. No time for the interesting embryos. I'm pregnant to go off to nurses before the children have finished their afternoon sleep. But also at this point, at least there's one glance at the counting rooms and plead. But rather, the director smiled in the dreams and just one glance. I finished reading one chapter 1. I watched this movie, so and then I can figure it out a little bit, and so I like reading the book, which in the movie.